So therefore, this is the right time actually to become serious about current affairs. There would be students who will have some pendency, right? In those cases, what you can do is that from the present moment you can focus on the monthly magazines, and you can focus on mains 365 of the previous year. So this is also the time that you should start your bi-weekly full length subject wise mock test, right? So maybe you can do that for the core subjects. That will again clearly highlight to you that which core subject you are faltering in. If you are in the habit of reading editorials daily, that means your reading comprehension is fine. Hello everyone, this is Himanshu Khatri and we are here to discuss a potential next 6 month strategy for prelims. So if we begin, then in the initial first 2 months, for example, in the first month and the second month, right, you can focus on a initial self assessment. That is, every student has different kind of favorite subjects, less favorite subjects. Some subjects are deemed easier compared to others, so therefore every student is at a different level, and understanding of that level is very very important to accordingly customize your schedule or your timetable and your efforts, right? And for example, you can use multiple tools. A tool which is available with VisionIAS is Sandhan portal of VisionIAS, whereby AI based questions are there, a mix of previous year questions and very intelligently crafted questions. So you will have the marks in front of you, and therefore you'll be able to assess that where exactly I am in each of the subjects and the subtopics of that subjects also. Once you have done that, as a broad strategy, you should definitely solidify those topics or subjects from which a lot of questions comes, and they are like everyone knows core subjects: history, polity, economy and geography, right? And in this particular phase you can begin with a fast revision of your short notes if you have made any, or you feel that a particular chapter is pending or a particular section is pending. So therefore in the initial time period you can allocate days to covering the loopholes of these core subjects and their revision. Do not lose sight of the current affairs, because as the exam will approach closer, the newspapers will keep on piling. They have been piling since the day you began your preparation. So therefore this is the right time actually to become serious about current affairs. Otherwise, as months will progress, this load will become unbearable. Okay, and you cannot be like that only in the last moment I'll study mains 365 or pt 365, right? And or some kind of like a shortcut. So even if you're doing monthly magazines of VisionIAS, then also you need to do a analysis on the top of that content, because whenever you will read a monthly magazine you will have certain doubts, right? It's not necessary that each and every word and each and every definition or concept you are already aware of, right? So therefore use AI to clarify those doubts which appear when you go through a monthly magazine. Okay, that way that monthly magazine has become your magazine, and this is the right time. There would be students who will have some pendency, right? In those cases, what you can do is that from the present moment you can focus on the monthly magazines, and you can focus on mains 365 of the previous year to have a summarized version of the events of the past year. तो जब तक मेंस 365 जिस मंथ तक बना हुआ है उनको वहां से कवर कर लीजिए. Rest you focus on the monthly magazines, right? So therefore that is how you deal with the current affairs on a day to day basis. Resource wise, well, do not add any new resources, but yes, if you know that there are certain resources which are bound to be important like NCRTs and you have not covered them, so therefore do cover them, and it will be very easy to cover them because once you have attended coaching, so it's easy to read NCRT of that particular subject. It's not very tough task to do. And if you find out that there is any small concept which has not been taught in coaching, then please jot that down, make short notes out of it, so that you have a sense that okay, my syllabus is kind of like complete. right? Then as you progress towards the third and the fourth month, then gradually you should start getting into the mode of picking up the subjects which are not deemed as core subjects, but many questions they come from them. For example, now you should actually focus upon the in-depth understanding of example topics from environment, science and technology, art and culture, right? There can be some subjects which you really hate. For example, in my case it was art and culture which I really hated like anything, but well, it has to be done. What can one do about it, right? So therefore, start focusing on those subjects you are building upon a confident you, because when you covered your core subjects, from that you would have got some level of confidence, and that can help in you giving a sense of this confidence that theek hai, until now I had been neglecting science and technology or art and culture, but now I can do them, right? And here also the coaching material etc, it comes very handy. The tough language, it is kind of like simplified, and definitely it goes without saying that whenever you have any doubts, then go ahead and engage with AI to get those doubts resolved, right? Meanwhile, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that by the time you are into your fourth month or fifth month, you have forgotten your core subjects, right? So therefore, you need to take out time every week, I would say, that you can pick out one day for revising your core subjects, that is the subjects which you have already covered, right? Also, develop a habit of interlinking, and this habit, it requires capability, and capability you have already acquired when when in your mind already very recently you have revised the core subjects of history, polity, economy, geography, right? And then you are in your second iteration of revision. At that point of time, always try to do some interlinking. For example, try to see that which of the DPSPs, let's say you're revising polity, you come across DPSPs, right? So therefore you are, let's say, in some article 51A or something. So try to see that which of the DPSPs are linked with environment, and try to see that recently this particular law which you studied in environment, or this particular treaty which India became signatory of in environment domain, how it is in line with the mandate given by the constitution makers in directive principles of state policy, DPSPs, right? So therefore, this is how richness will be added to your core polity from other subjects, right? Or if you are revising, let's say, history, and you come across let's say you come across Bengal partition, right, which is about state reorganization. Bengal had become was very very large province, it had largest population, so there were certain justifications which were given by the British for territorial reorganization of that area. Try to link it with the State Reorganization Act of 1956, which you read in your polity, right? Try to see that how those principles, right, they were adapted, or partly they were used for linguistic reorganization of India, because the demand of the Indian national movement leaders was that there should be linguistic reorganization of that area. Later on we went with linguistic reorganization of the whole country, right? So therefore, this is how you can do a lot of interlinking, and that will really give you confidence. Whenever a student is actually able to do interlinking between subjects, that is when the student actually starts feeling that, yeah, I can play with these concepts, I feel confident as a student, right? So therefore, try to be always on a lookout that whatever I have recently studied, does anything connects with this static part, right? Especially, for example, you can link the current affairs with it, right? And wherever you feel that you have found some very good interconnection, don't shy, jot it down on some piece of paper or whatever the format that you are using for your notes making, so that you can use that later, not just in prelims, but also in mains, right? This is also the time you are in the fourth month, so this is also the time that you should start your bi-weekly full length subject wise mock test, right? So maybe you can do that for the core subjects. That will again clearly highlight to you that which core subject you are faltering in, and within a core subject in which particular segment you are relatively weak. So, and highlight those areas, right? And jot those areas down at some place, whenever you are going to focus on next revision, those areas are going to be a particular target for you, right? So therefore that is how you should function. Now as you move ahead, you are in your 5th and 6th month, right? And now the primary focus becomes revision, 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 right? Get into the examination mode. Every week write full length mock tests, which are not just subject wise but also like a proper, all the subjects are there, right? Enter into a cycle whereby you write a test, after that you evaluate it, and you are clearly able to identify those questions where you had no idea that what the question is about. So therefore those are the topics which you need to study afresh. Second set of questions will be whereby you were aware of the topic, you felt that you knew the topic, you have done the topic, but still somehow the question is crafted in such a manner that you got very confused and you got the answer wrong, right? Highlight these topics and revisit these topics from the perspective, from the same books, right? Do not look at the answers provided by the coaching institute. Revisit the same books which you studied, because you studied them with this intent that you will be able to solve questions, and try to see where was the gap between the demand of the question and your understanding of that topic. This way you will be able to refine the already well studied topics, right? So two kind of questions they will come out, and you will be clearly aware that which topics are totally not prepared and which topics are requiring certain kind of refinement. So enter into a cycle where you give tests, after that you do analysis, then you do revision, then you give next text, then again analysis, अगेन रिविजन, अगेन नेक्स्ट टेस्ट. इस स्ट्रैटेजी का सबसे अच्छा फायदा ये होता है कि कई बार स्टूडेंट को ये क्लियरली नहीं पता होता कि यार अभी मैं क्या रिवाइज करूं, या फिर इफ द स्टूडेंट इज इन सेकेंड अटेम्प्ट और थर्ड अटेम्प्ट तो बोरियत बहुत होती है, ठीक है. बट ये काम करके आपको एक मिशन मिल जाता है कि यार मुझे तो लग रहा था ये मेरा सब्जेक्ट वेल प्रिपेयर्ड है, मैं तो बोर्ड फील कर रहा था जब मैं वापस से इस किताब को पढ़ रहा था, बट लेट मी गो टू चैप्टर नंबर 7, वहां से एक क्वेश्चन आए हैं एंड समहाउ आई वाज नॉट एबल टू गेट इट करेक्ट, व्हाई, राइट. जब ये एक्सरसाइज मैंने अपने साथ करी थी, आई फाउंड आउट दैट यूपीएससी वाज आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम दोज पैराग्राफ्स व्हिच आई हैड नॉट हाईलाइटेड. और हो क्या रहा था कि रिवीजन में सिर्फ हाईलाइटेड पार्ट आई वाज रिवाइजिंग, द नॉन हाईलाइटेड पार्ट आई यूज्ड टू टेक फॉर ग्रांटेड. इट ग्रेजुअली बिकेम धुंधला इन माय माइंड, right? So therefore that is a very very important exercise, so please get into that cycle, right? So therefore this is how you can do a customized revision, and also you are doing test practices, right? CSAT is a phobia for many, right? So therefore now if you were weak in CSAT, you should have started CSAT slightly earlier, कुछ ना कुछ आपने पहले किया होगा, but now at least one day every week you should give to CSAT, if not the whole day, maybe the first half, right? And try to focus on conceptual part of CSATs, right? So don't try to rote learn, right? Try to understand the concept behind every question, and then also practicing, obviously it is very very important in CSAT. If you are in the habit of reading editorials daily, then the reading comprehension part, it is kind of like taken care of, because if you're able to understand editorial on daily basis, that means your reading comprehension is fine, right? Then if we move towards subject wise strategy, right, that is a new perspective. So while you are revising your core subjects of polity, history, geography, economy, in polity, if you look at the previous year questions, then there are certain areas which are like favorites of UPSC. This includes fundamental rights, TPSPs, center state relations, amendments to the constitutions, right, and some landmark Supreme Court cases, right? So therefore these are the core focus areas. इनको आप ध्यान में रखें. This PPT will be available to you, right? So you can use it later. Then certain retention techniques, right? You can use certain acronyms, right, for fundamental rights, for DPSPs, that is like a mnemonic. But the best method which I feel to revise polity is ask questions to yourself. Ask questions which require a fresh perspective, right? That is asked that what are the different kind of rights, legal and constitutional, legal and fundamental, and what are different DPSPs or other articles which are there in the constitution for women, or for, let's say, scheduled tribes, or for scheduled castes, or for capitalists of India, right? That ways, or for economically weaker sections. And then you start making these flowchart based short notes by, pultifying the pages and trying to see that, okay, and that perspective will really make you feel this sense of confidence that, okay, now I know that constitution does what for who. In fact, maybe you belong to a particular segment, like, maybe OBC, maybe general category, maybe scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. Maybe you got to know for the first time that this all is there for me in the constitution, right? So therefore that perspective becomes very, very important. Making me, you can reorganize that further into that, what are the economic dimensions uh, of constitution doing certain things for a section. So economically क्या कर रहा है या क्या mandate दे रहा है constitution, politically कैसे empower कर रहा है constitution उस particular segment को, socially कैसे empower कर रहा है उस particular segment को, right? So therefore this is very, very beautiful way, right? That is, you can call it visualization techniques for revising polity, and it will really increase your understanding and memory. And you can include certain important court cases also, which will give you this feeling that you have facts also for these concepts. Okay, then in history, if you look at the ancient and medieval, right, so there are certain recurring themes, right? So while you are analyzing the previous year questions, focus on these recurring themes, whereby the polity becomes slightly less important. More important becomes the way of life of people, that is what they used to do in their economy, right? What was the administrative systems like, how people's life was governed administratively, and what were developments in art and culture, right? In modern Indian history, for example, the freedom struggle becomes very important. Personalities become important. Example, you should focus on certain events. तो क्लियर है फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल का. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ईयर्स ऑफ एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ मेजर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज लाइक ऑल इंडिया पार्टी, इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, और organizations of workers, all India trade union congress 1920, all India kisan sabha, right? So in which years they are formed, उनका कभी कभी chronology पूछ लेता है UPSC. Then be very, very clear that, okay, 1885 Indian National Congress, 1885 till 1905 moderates, they dominate INC till 1920. From 1905 till 1908, the mass struggle phase of Swadeshi movement. Revolutionaries, they become active from 1908 onwards, right? Then you have what you call as Gadar movement 1913-15, Home Rule League movement 1916-18, Rowlatt Satyagraha 1919, Khilafat movement, Non-Cooperation movement 1920-22, and so on and so forth. Then missions आ गए, right? मतलब आई एम जस्ट रैंडमली स्पीकिंग थिंग्स है. मिशंस आ गए कि फॉर एग्जांपल ऑगस्ट ऑफर 1940, क्रिप्स मिशन 1942, वेविल प्लान 1945, and in all of these topics in a very clear format, why that particular event happened, consequences of that event, right? So make short notes of that, and they will be very, very handy in modern history. Example, last year, right, they asked that who was the lawyer, right, who were the lawyers who fought cases for victims of chori chora, that is the Indian victims, and answer was Madan Mohan Malviya and Krishna Kant, right? So therefore try to look at nuances kaise ki usually people, when they talk about chori chora, they talk about the 22 policemen which were burnt alive, right? But why they were burnt alive? Because before that, satyagrahis were assassinated by the police, and then huge repression was done by the police, right? So from this perspective, try to see the subtle part of things also. ठीक है, तो जो भी लॉजिकल आपको लगे उस समय पे, राइट? एंड ऑब्वियसली मॉक्स एटसेट्रा, दे रियली हेल्प यू इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग दीज पैटर्न्स. ज्योग्राफी में two aspects are there. Conceptual understanding, fine, everyone knows about it, right? You are revising it, you'll be focusing on that. But here maps, they become important. Do not neglect them. UPSC many of the times ask map based questions, right? So geography एक ऐसा सब्जेक्ट है कि जितना आप विजुलाइज कर पाएंगे उतना ज़्यादा बेटर रहेगा. तो कैसे एग्जैक्टली करना है? एक डिजिटल रिपोजिटरी रखनी है आपको अपने पास, वेयर बाय डिफरेंट डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ मैप्स आर देयर, रिवर्स एक मैप के अंदर है, ठीक है, पॉलिटिकल कैपिटल्स एक मैप के अंदर है, प्रोडक्शन पैटर्न्स एक पर्टिकुलर मैप के अंदर है, मिनरल वेल्थ कहाँ पे कितनी है वो एक मैप के ऊपर है. सो देयरफॉर जितना ज़्यादा आप विजुलाइज कर पाओगे, ठीक है, उतना ज़्यादा इट विल बी अमेजिंग फॉर यू, राइट. सो एंड मेक इट अ हैबिट. कभी भी कोई जोग्राफिकल फीचर आप पढ़ रहे हैं and you do not know exactly where that geographical feature is, right? So go to your digital repository and try to locate it. That's how you work in the maps. Economics may again the same thing. Concepts are very very important. UPSC has asked in the past that which of the following are the components of WPI, wholesale price inflation, or what is the difference between CPI and WPI, right? These small things, right? Repo rate, reverse repo rate, right? Liquidity adjustment facility and all of that. So ये छोटे छोटे जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं, राइट, उनके ऊपर आप फोकस करें कि एग्जैक्टली ये चीज़ें क्या है. तो यूपीएससी इन पे फोकस करता है. इसमें आगे यू विल बी गेटिंग दिस इकोनॉमिक सर्वे एंड बजट ऑल्सो. तो मेनी ऑफ द टाइम्स दैट करंट अफेयर एलिमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स इट really feeds into the UPSC questions, and UPSC has asked questions on new concepts introduced in economic survey, maybe some economists curve, right, or something like that, right. And definitely you have to very regularly link it with current economic issues, right. Because ये बहुत सही चीज़ है कि इकोनॉमिक्स में बहुत अच्छी चीज़ क्या है कि कोई भी आर्टिकल आप तब तक अच्छे से पढ़ नहीं सकते हैं, समझ नहीं सकते हैं, जब तक ये की डेफिनेशंस आपको नहीं पता है. तो वो बहुत एक सही चीज़ है कि करंट अफेयर्स को अगर आप अच्छे से कर रहे हैं तो इकोनॉमिक्स का स्टैटिक पार्ट भी बहुत रेगुलरली रिवाइज होता है, ठीक है ना. तो इसमें एक्स्ट्रा एंड बड़ी मस्त चीज़ क्या है कि इफ़ यू डू नॉट नो मीनिंग ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट ना, then you will not be able to understand that article, right. So therefore these are like they have to be together. Without conceptual clarity current पढ़ने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. That is how it is, right. Environment and ecology में भी अच्छी बात क्या है कि यहाँ पे PYQ analysis becomes more important because UPSC has often repeated themes. So therefore यहाँ पे प्राइमरी फोकस आपको PYQ का रखना है. लीगल फोकस रखना है, दैट इज इंटरनेशनल लॉ, द ट्रीटीज विच आर देयर, सिग्निफिकेंट ट्रीटीज, सिग्निफिकेंट कन्वेंशंस, उनके डिसीजंस, एंड द लॉज विच द इंडियन पार्लियामेंट हैज मेड फॉर एनवायरमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी, right. So therefore, or any new change, any addition to IUCN list and all of that, right. Science and technology में if you analyze the previous year questions तो ज़्यादा focus application part पे है, ठीक है ना. तो focus on the application part. Current affair का pulse अगर देखोगे तो lot of major scientific developments are taking place now, especially with the Make in India. Many developments are taking place in space, in defense, right. So they are very very important, right. तो ऐसा उसको देखना है. ठीक, this part we have already covered in a way when I talked about that strategy of entering into like a cycle of giving the test, doing an analysis, again doing revision, identifying mistakes. So that's kind of like covered. Revision के लिए what you can do is whenever you feel that you have a very good understanding of a particular topic which is otherwise covered in 4 to 5 pages, then what you can do is you can come up with one pages, right. So therefore that will be very very amazing. Example, these are certain examples. This I teach in my class. I teach modern Indian history. So there was this Desai Liaquat Pact whereby it was decided that proposal will be given to the Britishers that there should be 50% Muslim League ministers and 50% Indian National Congress ministers in the cabinet, except for Governor General and Commander in Chief. And similarly, in the legislature, proposal was that 20% seats they can be reserved to minorities apart from the Muslims, and rest of the seats they can be shared between Indian National Congress and Muslim League 50-50. Right. So therefore, when I visualize it like this, it really helps me personally to remember things, to understand things in the right perspective, right. So this is like one example. Another example can be use of map. So this map, it tells you about unification of Italy. What is in this map that is of less relevance, but notice that I've used different color codes, right. I have numbered it, that first I need to this is like the base 0, then 1.1, 1.2, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. So I have a chronology also in my mind. So I'm able to visualize that in which war or through which particular event these areas they became part of a unified Italy. Right. So therefore, try to do these kind of interesting things with maps. right? Or these kind of flowcharts. This is like a small flowchart of Pitt's India Act, whereby governors of Bombay and Madras, they were subordinated in matters of war and peace to Governor General, right? Then Governor General का boss है Court of Directors in London. Court of Directors का boss है Board of Control of British State, right? So therefore, and Board of Control can give direct orders to Governor General also. So therefore, that's why this line is there. And so first I read the red part, then I read the green part. Green part में कुछ problems हैं. That problem of no veto power to GG over his council, no right to use army because that was with commander in chief. Problem of two bosses, that is GG को COD भी order दे सकता है, board of control भी this. Well, what is in there, that is not important, but what I'm trying to tell you is that try to visualize, right? And that will really help you in coming out with, you know, flowcharts or create one pages like this. This is economic impact or impact of industrial revolution in Britain on colonies like India, राइट. सो इन वन पेज आई हैव ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, राइट. बेनिफिट इसका क्या होता है, फास्टर रिविजन होता है. ब्रॉडली में देखो तो लॉस ऑफ मार्केट्स हो रहा है, ठीक है. कोलोनियलिज्म इंक्रीज हो रहा है, एग्जाम्पल बिकॉज ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर, ठीक. इधर में सुएज कैनाल जब बन रहा है, सो देयरफॉर इट रिड्यूस द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन इंडिया एंड ब्रिटेन, सो देयरफॉर ब्रिटिश दे कुड लूट अस फास्टर. देन इम्पैक्ट ऑन एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर इज देयर एंड ओवरऑल impact on economy is there. So therefore for me it leads to very very fast revision, which becomes very very important in the exam. Then this is a sample study plan, हर स्टूडेंट के लिए अलग होगा, बट ब्रॉडली फ्रॉम नवंबर 2025 टिल जून 2026 साइकिल अगर हम देखें तो उसमें क्या है, फ्रॉम नवंबर टिल जनवरी यू कैन फोकस ऑन मेंस, बिकॉज एज सुन एज जनवरी विल कम you will be very very anxious for prelims and you will not be able to properly dedicate time to mains, right? So therefore this time period you focus on, subjects like governance, which you usually neglect for prelims perspective, or internal security, society, ethics. These are considered like mains on these subjects, right? So therefore, and a lot of question comes in mains from them, right? So therefore please focus on covering the static part, but also integrate the daily current affairs, with them, because internal security is like very very dynamic, governance is like very very dynamic along with the static part, right? So ultimately you should be able to develop an analytical skill इस पे, तो फोकस को ये एरियाज यूजुअली नेग्लेक्टेड होते हैं, ठीक है, बट प्लीज फोकस अपॉन देम, दे विल बी वेरी वेरी, इट विल बी वेरी वेरी हेल्पफुल. सिमिलरली एथिक्स में देखा जाए तो all of case studies are important, thinkers are there, value systems are there. Design some plan, right? Maybe you can decide that okay, in 1 week, one day I have allocated to CSAT, right? Let's say I'm in my third or fourth month, one day I've fifth or sixth month I've allocated to CSAT, right? And so maybe one day I can allocate to GS paper 4, right? So therefore my weekend goes there, rest of the 5 days I and weekend goes there along with one test, right? And the weekdays I'll use for my revision, right? So things like this, wherever you find in current affairs that certain thinker has been mentioned in some opinion or some editorial, right? So therefore you to get an edge over other students, you try to jot that down, right, at the relevant place so that you can use in the exam. Optional subject is again very very important. You will not be able to do optional subject after January. So yes, we are preparing for prelims, हमारा primary focus वो है, but ये जो time period है from November to January, that is these 3 months, slightly extra focus can be given on mains only subjects like optional, ethics and these things, right? इट इज़ एक्सपेक्टेड कि आपने ऑप्शनल में कोचिंग कंप्लीट कर रखी होगी, इट इज़ एक्सपेक्टेड कि उसके आपके नोट्स पूरे हो चुके होंगे. सो देयर द प्राइमरी फोकस इज ऑन रिविजन, एंड इफ पॉसिबल तो मे बी इन 15 days one full length test you can give, right? That will really improve your memory also, right? So therefore that is how a student should focus on. So this is like a sample thing, right? This PPT will be provided to you. You can use it as a template, right? You can do adjustments to it, you can add or delete things to it, but yes, this is like a sample thing that from February to May, when our major focus becomes prelims, current affairs, tests, so therefore how I should focus upon, right, these things. So that is how it is, right? And overall अगर हम cycle को देखें तो दिस इज नॉट जस्ट फ्रॉम टुडे बट एक ओवरऑल साइकिल एक यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट के लाइफ में जो होता है। तो जुलाई से जनवरी तक you are away from the prelims. Therefore, your primary focus should be mains only subjects, sharpening your mains level skills, right? Especially this becomes relevant for those who are into their second attempt, let's say, right? By chance, let's say there is a student who has given prelims, feels that I'll not be able to qualify. Trust me, for a first attempter, that is not a very bad thing, because then you have your July to January to focus on your mains, right? Had you been able to qualify prelims, तो मतलब very good, we would be very happy. But आप फिर कहीं ना कहीं एक हौच पौच में मतलब बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो वो होता है when you qualify prelims, when you know that you will stand a good chance to qualify mains also, right? If your mains subjects preparation is zero and you qualify prelims, it's not good for you, because then you do not get the time and the which is required, the patience, peace of mind which is required to prepare the mains only subjects, because their analysis becomes important, right? So I hope you took me in the right manner, right? So from July to January, right, as you're moving closer to January, you are becoming closer to prelims, mains common subjects. And when you are as much away from January, then you focus purely on mains only subjects, right? That kind of thing. From January to May, obviously you're going to be focused on prelims, writing tests, right? Off prelims, right? Full length text tests, subject wise tests, right? Revisions and all. And from June to August, once you qualify the prelims and you are mains ready because you were working on that in this particular cycle, then you become super focused on your optional, on your essay, on your ethics, any value addition notes, and super focused on writing mains level tests, right? Mains level tests, they are literally a magic. They really help you memorize things also, and they really help you, in confidence also, right? So that is it from my side, right? All the very very best, right? We are with you, right? We have multiple initiatives like mentoring ke liye we have this Lakshya mentoring program, right, which can really do hand holding, and many of the toppers have also praised it a lot. Use tools like Santhan, which are AI based tools, right? So I we are with you, right? We are a family. Thank you. God bless you.